Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with a review of the iPhone 15 Pro. I've been using it for over 2 weeks and now it's time for a verdict. The price is $999, at least in US, and we have the titanium blue device. It gets an USB-C port, it gets a side action button, at the same time it keeps the iPhone 14 Pro cameras and receives the first 3nm CPU inside. Some extra RAM and also lighter by 20 grams, and the edges are a bit more rounded. That's the core novelty here. So let's start the review and let's talk about the design. First of all, the iPhone 15 Pro is 19 grams lighter than the 14 Pro and also 0.4 millimeters thicker, reaching 8.3 millimeters in thickness and 187 grams. The frame is now titanium, not stainless steel, and I have to say that we have glass at the back and glass at the front. The front is protected with ceramic shield, and there's also Corning technology. There's IP68 certification here, and I'm talking about the ability to be sunken in up to 6 meters of liquid for 30 minutes. Well, water, not liquid. I should also mention that there are various hues like black titanium, white titanium, blue titanium, which we have, and natural titanium. The action button is pretty comfy. You can keep it pressed like this and it will give you a feedback, and it can also be customized from the settings, so you can assign a variety of purposes for it. This is a dedicated area. You can have it silent mode, focus, torch, voice memo magnifier, or even camera. Okay, that's about it for now. The buttons are pretty comfy. The antenna lines are still visible. We're definitely due a change, although the more rounded edges definitely help with the comfort of the device. And the screen seems to have narrower bezels now, if you ask me. So yeah, that's one of the things happening here, narrower bezels for the screen. The dynamic island, the peel, is still here from the predecessor. Now the screen which you're seeing here, this one is a 6.1 inch LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED with a resolution of 2556 over 1179 pixels, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10, Dolby Vision, and up to 2000 nits of brightness. It has always on display, and also, well, it's got narrower bezels, as I said before. The screen to body ratio is now 88.2. and the viewer experience will be shown in a minute now in this special test video. Okay, so everything is pretty immersive, I would say, although this dynamic island may spoil some of the content which is not black. I have to say that we have a very wide color range here. The image is very bright and crisp. There's visible HDR in the videos that support it, and we have wide view angles, as you can see for yourself. Thanks to the narrower bezels, you can really immerse yourself in the content. The contrast is perfect, and even in the full sunlight, you're getting the best out of the experience. Now, we did a lux meter test. Let's see what came out of that. So we go here, and you can see the measurements. We have 953 lux units, which is pretty impressive, 7th placed all time, just above the iPhone 15. It's also above the iPhone 14 Pro, which had 512 lux, above the Galaxy S23 Ultra, if I remember correctly, and also above quite a few other phones, including foldables and whatnot. It's below Honor Magic 5 Pro and Xperia 1 Mark V. Okay, now moving further, it's time to talk about the CPU here. Time to go inside the phone, where you can find the brand new Apple A17 Pro, the first 3nm chip on the market, hexa-core, with a 6-core GPU of its own. And well, let's see what we're dealing with here. Let's first stop this video maybe. Okay, and find the IDA app. Hopefully it will work this time. Yes. Okay, so back to the thing we were saying. Apple A17 Pro 3nm chip with 19 billion transistors. We're also getting extra RAM here, 8 gigs of RAM this time, while the predecessor had 6 gigs. And the storage goes from 128 to 256, 512 gigabytes, or even 1 terabyte, and it's NVMe storage. The device doesn't suffer from lag, no matter what you're doing here. It's still pretty lag-free and functions like a charm, so no problem with that. You can also play games on it, high-end games, with some AAA titles coming like Death Stranding soon. However, there's overheating, but people have been wondering what kind of overheating. I'm feeling the heat through the titanium frame. I don't feel any heat at the back side. That's how it's distributed. Apple released iOS 17.03 to fix the overheating. To be honest, the heat decreased, but it hasn't gone away. And it appears when I take hundreds of photos, videos, when I keep the phone charging, and when I use some more intensive apps. Now, as far as the benchmarks are concerned, we also did those, and we have some here. In Antutu 10, we're second placed. We were only beaten by the Asus Zenfone 10, beating all the other Android flagships on the market. while in Geekbench 6, this phone dominates, together with the iPhone 15 at the top of the multi-core and the single-core tests. This is GFX Bench. Some of the tests are pretty split, we're top 20, top 60 in others, but the more relevant one is the Basemark Web with the first place. Then we have 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme, fourth place, beating the Zenfone 10, but staying below the Z Fold 5. This is 3D Mark Wildlife Unlimited, we're 9th placed, just above the iPhone 14 Pro and below ASUS ROG Phone 7 Ultimate and below the Honor Magic 5 Pro. Okay, so those are the results. We also have a separate temperature test, but I'll say that the phone can easily reach 50 degrees Celsius if you really do intensive stuff on it, and I'm talking about the frame, obviously, rather than the backside. So poorly distributed heat on account of the titanium frame is what I've heard. On the battery front, I think I'm going to have to resort to IDA again, even though usually it doesn't exactly show many details about the battery, because it's Apple after all. 3274 mAh. The iPhone 14 Pro had 3200. It's an upgrade. You're supposed to charge it at 50% in 30 minutes. It has 15 watt wireless MagSafe charging, and the actual wire charging is unknown. My guess is that it's somewhere around between 20 and 30 watts. Now, we also did a bunch of tests like video playback and whatnot, and here are the results. So we start with video playback, where we achieved an impressive 27 hours and 42 minutes, third place all time. With this value here, we surpassed Galaxy S23 Ultra by almost 8 hours and also the OnePlus 11 by 6 hours. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. As far as the regular day-to-day use is concerned, I suppose that you can start at 8 a.m. in the morning and reach about 7 p.m. with about 30% battery left, which is an upgrade by 1 or 2 hours compared to my own iPhone 13 Pro. My usage pattern involves something like 300-400 pictures, 20-30 minutes of calls, let's say 1 hour of YouTube, 1-2 hours of Spotify, and maybe 6 or 7 videos, hands-on videos in my job. I can also gather TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram for about 2 hours, and that's my day-to-day usage. Once again, start at 8 p.m., start at 8 a.m., reach about 7 p.m. with about 30% battery left, or at worst 20. So basic iPhone behavior, but an upgrade from the 13 Pro, maybe even from the 14 Pro. The charge actually impressed me. It took for 30 minutes you reach 61%, which is more than what Apple promises on paper. So yeah, that's fine, but the actual charging is pretty long, 1 hour and 30 minutes, the full charge. So the 30% is fine because you just leave it a few more minutes and you reach the recommended 80%. You also have wireless charging, and just so you know, I used an ASUS 30 watt wireless charging from the Zenfone 10. It doesn't recognize Huawei chargers for some reason. We USB-C port chargers, of course. As far as the audio is concerned, we have stereo speakers. There's one at the bottom, there's one at the top, the earpiece, and we have a tune here prepared for your listening needs. Okay, so a pretty satisfying set of speakers. I would say that they have excellent clarity, very good separation of frequency, lots of bass, and I would say that the voices are very pleasant in podcasts, in movies. It's hard for me to say if it has a louder volume than the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but the sensation is that it does. And that's what I can say, that you can really feel each instrument in a song and the separation of the drums, for example. Now, as far as the tests are concerned, we also have those. Use a decibel meter to show you that we achieved 76.3 decibels at the top, and at the bottom 80.4 decibels. With this value, we surpassed Huawei P60 Pro, the iPhone 14 Pro, and Galaxy S23 Ultra. We're below the OnePlus 11, below the Honor Magic 5 Pro. When it comes to gaming, we reached 89.4 decibels, which is above Nothing Phone 2, above Huawei Nova 11 Pro, but below Galaxy S23 Ultra and P60 Pro. So overall, not very impressive figures, but the actual experience is satisfying, far from distortion and anything like that. I won't insist too much on the camera hardware. We have reached the camera now because it's the same as the iPhone 14 Pro. The front camera may have gotten better stabilization, but that's the only thing. So the front, 12 megapixel and it's a 3D sensor, and at the back side there's a combo of 48 megapixel main sensor with sensor shift OIS, 12 megapixel telephoto 3x optical zoom camera, and 12 megapixel ultra wide. You saw the camera's options in the unboxing, I won't insist on them. There's the 3D time of flight sensor for LiDAR needs, and also the LED flash here. I'm going to skip straight to the gallery because I have a lot of photos. No, here. I use this for hands-on. I was at the Xiaomi event in Berlin. I was at a special presentation from Orange. I also took photos of a Huawei Golden Watch and so much more. Okay, so let's start with the Berlin shots. I took a stroll in Berlin, and I think I'm going to have to say that we start with a slice of pizza. Okay, so when it comes to food photo, the images are more realistic than Samsung, especially with the food mode activated for Samsung. I'm loving the texture here and the details, so yes, it checks out if you're going for food photos. We also have a lot of shots of the Cyberdog 2 actually, which Xiaomi presented, and everything's fine and dandy, except for when you zoom in a lot, you tend to find noise even at 3 or 4x. So yeah, that kind of happens when you start zooming in a lot. You're going to notice some noise here and there compared to all the other 5x optical zoom phones on the market. This one has only 3x. Okay, so this is work, and I've done a lot of it in Berlin. A bunch of conferences as well. By the way, as a journalist tool, this phone is actually excellent, to be honest. Even though it's lacking in zoom, it's compensating in crispness. However, I had to play with the exposure a lot with a special square on the screen to balance the face of the person and the image behind the person. It wasn't all work, it was also some play. We visited Berlin. This is the Berlin Wall, and the light falls in a very nice way through this gate here. We have artwork from the Berlin Wall. This is a regular photo, this is the ultra-wide photo. And as I'll say a bunch of times during this review, the ultra-wide shots will not be lacking in colors or details. So yeah, that's fine. Berlin is pretty fascinating if you ask me. We have a lot of photos which are more vertical, so they can be posted on Instagram. That's the explanation. And check this out. So regular photo and ultra-wide photo. Doesn't deform the image, it doesn't change the colors. So that's where we're at. Some other sites in Berlin, and I think we're done with this part of the review. These are indoor shots of a restaurant called La Gendarmerie. Okay, and this is the food, some beef and some vegetables. Okay, so we're done with that. You can see the airplane here as I'm leaving, and I think it's time to go to the other photo tests. Time to go back to Bucharest, where we took some shots outdoors, a regular shot with a very lovely sky in all of its hues and details, an ultra-wide shot, a bit darker, but doesn't change the colors too much. And we also have these shots here, once again, a regular shot and ultra-wide shot, just a bit darker. This is a zoom test with 2x, 3x, 4x and so forth. It's actually not that bad in this instance, close to sunset, but I expected a bit more. If you're thinking about the other phones on the market, even older ones with 5x zoom, even P30 Pro from a few years ago. Some work in progress here in the capital city, excellent texture here in details, and the colors are spot on, even though a bit colder. Actually, this iPhone produces cold colors, I have to say that. And here you can actually see some noise in the tree here. So regular shot, this time in the shade, and ultra-wide shot also in the shade, but with poor details. It's actually underwhelming. Okay, finally the color test. These are very accurate colors. I would say more accurate than the rivals. Some people may consider them cold because they don't vibrate a lot, but we have the color profiles in the camera app. You should maybe play with them if you want warmer colors, because you're not getting them otherwise. These are the portrait shots. You can actually take a regular shot and make it portrait afterwards. One of the novelties with the new iPhones. And the subject is well separated from the background. I actually attempted some macros with a special option and I was underwhelmed. It's still pretty hard to focus in very close-up on your photos. So yeah, a regular close-up is fine, but very close-up and macro, it's harder to pull off. My favorites are probably the selfies. I would say that these are the best selfies on the market right now. I awarded that to Samsung over the past years, but now I think we have a new champ when it comes to texture, details. You can see every thread of hair. You can see the background nicely. So yeah, selfies are fine. And Apple has also solved the problem with the portrait shots. You no longer have problems in, cutting off ears or things like that. Back in the day, they used to cut off my ear when they used to highlight me from the background. Well, that's no longer a problem. Satisfying selfies, and in the sun, the colors get a bit more vibrant. This red here is a bit more vibrant when you have enough lighting around you. Okay, so that's part 2. We have a part 3 here for the test we did. You can see that it actually took a lot of photos, hundreds of them, if not even thousands. Crazy it may sound. We have cars, a lot of cars. We have a local billionaire here in Romania and he has a huge collection of cars, impressive ones. Now, these are pretty difficult conditions for a camera. Lots of lighting, lots of reflections, lots of cars, but the camera handled them, I would say, fine. Even though every now and then, some of these light sources were overblown and increased in size. Once again, as a journalist's phone and as a vlogger's phone, this works fine. And you won't find yourself lacking in any way, maybe except for the darker ultra-wide shots at times, maybe except for the strange lighting in the ultra-wide photos when you have strong light sources. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And now let's go to the night mode. Okay, so let's talk about nighttime photos. This is a photo with the main camera taken during a fountain light show, and this is the ultra-wide camera, which kind of messes up the lights. So you can see here there's a Xiaomi logo at the top, and you can clearly see the Mi logo, while at the same time here you can see that the logo cannot be seen on the ultra-wide camera. The ultra-wide camera actually let me down a bunch of times during the nighttime photos. I expected more from it, and I feel that when it comes to the night photos, regular night photos without the night mode, the camera isn't on par with the others on the market, flagship cameras I mean. And even the night mode photos aren't that impressive. Look at these reflections, they're pretty annoying. And overall, I didn't feel like I was using a flagship priced at $1,000 or things like that. Okay, so multiple shots here, with or without the night mode, with or without the ultra wide, but those aren't the single shots. These are a bunch of photos from candles in a bar. Even here we have some reflections which shouldn't be there. Perhaps with future generations of iPhones, those will be fixed. Okay, so we also have other things here. We have other nighttime photos, which I have to find. Okay, so there's this one here, an alley in Bucharest with a regular shot from the main camera, and we should also have a ultra wide. So once again, main camera, and this time ultra wide with a huge disappointment. This you can post online for sure, but this you cannot post because it's too dark and lacks in details. So somehow the ultra wide camera doesn't impress during the nighttime. And while the architecture photos are fine, I've seen better, to be honest, and I'm not feeling any upgrade even when compared to my own iPhone 13 Pro. And this is an area where the lights are too bright in the center and they kind of spoil the mood of the photo. So yeah, nighttime was a bit of a letdown for me. When it comes to videos, we have plenty to show, so let's see. Okay, so we have here plenty of videos taken during the last few months, and let's see which of them are more relevant. Okay, so the most impressive thing about this phone is the quality of its vlog selfie filming. Here I was watching some cars, a presentation of cars in a local area, parking area, where they were being showcased. And this is another presentation. You can see some Range Rovers there and even a tractor. The texture of the face is excellent, so are the details and the focus, so vloggers will definitely be happy with this device. They'll be able to do their jobs. Let's see what else we have here. Also have some conference shots. This is a portrait probably because I wanted to post it on Instagram. This is a Xiaomi presentation, but look at this. This is the problem I encountered. The person is too wide here and takes a while to fix the exposure, so keep that in mind. Okay, I also have some stabilization tests. I didn't forget about that. So this is one of them. A regular 4K. However, this is actually the action mode video. The wind is pretty strong and the microphones handled it, I would say, decently. Not the best in the world, just decently. 2.8K video. Action shot activated, action mode, supposed to be like a sort of gimbal, and yes, it does compensate for the movement. However, at the same time, I did a similar thing without the action mode. This is without it. The stabilization is pretty much the same. I'm not feeling any huge change. The clarity is fine, it's Samsung fine, even though we don't have 8K, and I also have another thing here to show you. Let's see, the cinematic video, which is this one here, it has gotten much better at cutting the subject from the background. It's actually pretty impressive. There were doves flying behind me and it left them blurred. And yeah, the cinematic mode is impressive at last. Okay, we also have this, just some regular panning with excellent colors, even though a bit cold, to be honest. And slightly darker in the darker areas, but the light is well distributed, I would say. I was actually underwhelmed by the focus. It took a bit to get a proper focus on this Mickey Mouse. I mean, I struggled to focus on its nose because it's maybe too small, but when it comes to the ears, the focus happened properly. So yeah, on the ear it's fine. You can see we switch from the ear to the background reasonably fast. Not Samsung fast, reasonably fast. So keep the objects big. Okay, and finally we can switch to the night time. This is actually a drum and bass concert. Not sure if you can play this without getting a copyright strike. I'm actually underwhelmed by this. I'm a big concert goer and I've seen phones handle concerts better than this one here. Not happy with the light, not happy with the details, not happy with the zoom. The microphones are fine, I'll be honest. And this is a landscape shot. I mean, it's fine and all, it gets the mood there. The sound is fine, but it doesn't blow me away as far as concert experiences are concerned, captured on camera. So yeah, we also have this, some panning during the nighttime on the local boulevard. The lights are well kept in check, they're not exaggerated. And the shades and I would say details are pretty fine as well, with the typical reflections that come with the iPhones. You know, those, so to say, UFOs floating on the screen, those extra reflections like this one here, those light dots, which show people, oh, you're using an iPhone. Okay, so that's pretty much it as far as the camera is concerned. I've been let down by the ultra-wide, a bit by the zoom, and by the nighttime photos and videos for some reason. Now, when it comes to the connectivity, check this out. So we have a USB-C port at the bottom. It's actually USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, and let's actually talk about it more. Up to 10 gigabits/second in transfers. We have NFC, 5G, Bluetooth 5.3, Wi-Fi 6E, GPS dual band, and the calls are pretty loud and clear. We also did a bunch of speed tests. Speed test is here, and you have quite a few results. These are taken with the current iPhone 15 Pro, and the results that matter are that we achieve 775 megabits/second download on Wi-Fi, 623 megabits/second upload. When it comes to 5G, 371 megabits/second downloads, 101 megabits/second uploads. They're fine, but I've seen better. It's probably because of the photo and network rather than the phone. I'm talking about 5G. Finally, it's time to discuss iOS 17. I actually covered it a lot, I would say too much in the unboxing, so I won't insist on it. There's name drop. With name drop, you'll be able to basically change contacts with a very cool animation between the two iPhones. And I think I have here, this is my contact poster. You can choose a photo, emoji, monogram, so you can create your own proper name, which shows on the screen of the person that's calling you, for example. That's your presentation, your contact card. And with name drop, you can exchange contacts and details. There's also a novelty here when it comes to the standby mode. Put the phone on a cradle to charge at night. You'll see a slideshow and a few enlarged controls. There's also FaceTime, where you can leave now messages, video and audio. And there's a feature called check-in. With check-in, you'll be able to see if a person reaches the destination, and if not, if they don't move a while, you receive their global positioning, I think, their battery level, and their signal status. Now the Messages app has an improved interface here. You can see the camera, photos, stickers, audio, and location. This is the location feature, I think. I think it's involved with the check-in feature. Let me see if you have it here or not. Check-in. So that's check-in for the persons which are close to you, and you can see if they're fine and there is a destination, if they're elderly or children. Okay, what else? So we also have live voicemail and the ability to see as a text the message the person is leaving you. We have in the messaging area, we have swipe to reply. And we also have Hey, instead of Hey Siri, we now just have Siri to trigger it. When it comes to Apple Maps, you can actually download maps offline, finally, after so many years. Photos will recognize pets and food better. And we have autocorrection via the keyboard with AI. The dynamic island is still here with purposes similar to the predecessor. So if you're activating a timer, for example, from here, You can see it shown here. You can see the low battery here. You can see map guidance on this second screen. You can stop features. It works like a second screen on the handset. I'm sure I forgot something about this iOS 17. What else? There's a journal app coming, which should help you with your mental health. So you can take notes of what you're feeling and what you felt during the day at some point. And I think that's about it as far as iOS 17 is concerned. It's more about communication, messaging, FaceTime, check-in, name drop, voicemail, and yeah, I think that's about it. You can also transcribe messages, by the way, in the new message app. Okay, so I think we're done and it's time for the verdict. Okay, so as usual, a verdict involves a bunch of pros and cons for the phone. On the pro side, it's a lighter and comfier phone with an okay battery life and great performance. We have a bright and crisp screen, and when it comes to filming for vlogging and hands-on and journalism, it's an ace. Perfect selfies, photo and video, quality microphones, well-balanced speakers, around 5 years of iOS updates, USB-C leaves a charger at home, so if you already have USB-C chargers to carry with you, you don't need the extra lightning one no more. We have detailed videos and very well stabilized videos, okay colors in pictures, and cinematic mode has been fixed. And those are the pros. On the cons, well, to be honest, I didn't feel that titanium was as resilient as they say, and I've seen some problems with the cracked back on some resilience tests. The camera overall doesn't feel like a huge upgrade, particularly the main one, and particularly at night, also particularly the ultra-wide. The phone gets hot on the titanium frame area, or it did get hot before the update, and even now, every now and then, it should get a bit hotter. There's no charger in the box, doesn't accept all USB-C chargers, Huawei one, it doesn't accept them. Also, colors are a bit cold in general, but you can tweak that. 3x optical zoom is not enough anymore, and I don't feel any huge upgrades in iOS 17 from the previous iOS. I would also say that the expectations from the ultra-wide camera were a bit higher for me, and there are some reflections which are annoying. In the end, this is a vlogging tool. I bought it for the purpose of doing hands-on videos while on the go and also unboxings. That's the purpose. I hate large phones. I hate the Pro Max. Otherwise, I would have gotten that one. It's comfier than the previous iPhones I've used over the past years, and that's the core idea. A comfy phone for vlogging. But that's for me. If you want more than that, if you need zoom, you may need another phone. If you want a concert phone, this is not exactly an ideal concert phone. You can opt for a Vivo, a Huawei, or a Samsung. I feel there are better concert tools. But this one should be fine for gaming, although I'm afraid to see how the behavior of it changes when the Resident Evil and Death Stranding come out, which are intensive and may lead to overheating again. And I would say that you should wait for the iPhone 16 Pro if you want an all-rounder. That's my recommendation. It will not get cheaper. It would keep its value as you keep it, but if you're a vlogger or a journalist, you can definitely buy it and rely on it, especially with that extra battery life. That's it from us. Goodbye.